That intro video never fails to get me hyped, but we're back here in the LPL Week 8, Day 5, hanging out in the Shanghai Arena, getting ready for Rogue Warriors versus TOP. Now, I actually ran into Rogue Warriors on the way up here in the elevator. Steak was just there, and it was kind of like this weird celebrity moment. I was like, what? I know you! I've seen you on the video game screen. And he was right there. And then HuaTian was right there as well in the elevators. You know, XX on the screen right now for TOP, of course. But it's really cool getting to be right there and experiencing the players and getting to see them prepare for this matchup, because for both of these teams, it means a lot. TOP, yeah, they're on a huge win streak, 9-2. They've secured playoffs, but they want to keep their dominance going. And for Rogue Warriors, their stake right there, they've been looking really good, surprisingly, in their last series. RNG just came out, and Rogue Warriors had everything to take them down. My name is Matt Niberia Clendaniel, and I'm joined here by the wonderful Jimmy Preacher Fu. We're here for the second set of the day, Rogue Warriors versus TOP. Jimmy, how you doing?
Mate, you flatter me too much, but I'm just glad to be here. Look, I want to come off the very first series that we just saw WE and V5. Even though that was a very crucial win for WE, we are still none the wiser as to who's going to playoffs in this league, and it is already week number 8. That's insane.
Yeah, nobody's been 100% knocked out yet. Rogue Warriors are really close, though. I mean, this is, once again, their last chance. We said that last week, and they said, you know, there's not much way they're going to get out of this. But they won 2-0 RNG, which was and has been for the longest time one of the most successful teams here in the LPL. But Rogue Warriors still have their schedule cut out for them. They have to take down TOP now, and then next up, Vici, OMG, and WE. But TOP, that's the big hurdle for them.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough run all around. If they can really prove themselves today, then they're going to be looking at fine form going into their opponents. They're not standing in the best of positions, but they already have very good wins behind their belt. And like you mentioned, the RNG one, that is the one that they are definitely coming off of. They're very hot. They did a clean 2-0 of RNG. And sure, the first game might have been a little bit slippery, and they had to rely on a Baron steal and, of course, some very advantageous team fights. But it still worked out to their favor, and it proves that RW, if they can get the lead, they can certainly deal with it.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that series was just so beautiful from Rogue Warriors, but that Baron steal, probably my favorite moment from the LPL this split. Just absolutely insane timing. Look, just watch the Ezreal ult. That's all you need to see. ZWuji there in the corner.
Whoop. There it is. He
there
hits
it goes.
He manages to outsmite Caster himself, takes the Baron for his team, and then it all goes downhill. I think that this really does signify that while Rogue Warriors still does struggle a little bit in the early game, they certainly can take it late if they can get the numbers.
But the problem they're going to be running into is that this is TOP. Part of me wants to say, you know, it's not RNG, it's TOP. It's a serious team. No, they're both top teams. I think they're both going to be like top 4-ish. But Rogue Warriors still have a lot ahead of them, and especially, you know, TOP have one of the best rosters coming in here as well. Knight is their big standout player, the mid laner, only 18 years old, fairly new to the LPL, and he's been taking names and, you know, just kicking everyone across the rift.
Oh, of course. And look, when we take a look at his stats, you really got to take a look at the number ones across his name. The only other thing that he's got is the gold difference, but besides that, he's pretty much leading the pack. And that's no surprise because TOP brought this guy in, they trained him up, he's 18 years old like you mentioned, and with his buddy in XX in the jungle, you know that they're both going to put up really high numbers.
Yeah, that mid lane 2v2 is a really strong point there for TOP, and you know, with Knight on the board, you really have to be careful with your solo laners, and this was something that we've talked about Rogue Warriors having trouble with for a while. You know, HuaTian, Kongming, both of them, we came into it the first half of the split, it was sort of iffy. It was like, okay, HuaTian he's doing okay, but he's not looking good. But I definitely would say that he has shaped up, and we haven't seen Kongming for a while. Rogue Warriors have stuck with their current roster for recent memory, at the very least. But the problem is going to be that they have so much cut out for them. Yes, they have to deal with 369 in the top lane. Yes, they have to deal with Knight, but their bot lane doesn't exactly get a free lane either. They're going to be going up against LokeN and Ben.
Yeah, and even though we just saw the Baron steal from the ADC himself, it really is pretty much that scenario in which they just got to sit back and make sure that they can wait for the rest of the team to catch up to them. Because, of course, when we talk about Rogue Warriors, their strength is in the bottom lane. Their bottom lane is amazing, and that is usually where they play through. You know, when you take a look at creative jungle pathing, especially with the ward advantage, they want to make sure that the enemy jungler can't sneak through. They usually prioritize around the bottom lane because that is the matchup to watch. However, we also have to talk about their opponents in the bottom lane because LokeN and Ben are no pushovers either. You know, when you take a look at the how they can lane against the bottom lane of Rogue Warriors, this is a very formidable duo. They've been very long tested and tried, and with those stats history, you know that they can definitely bring it home.
Yeah, their stats aren't going to blow anyone out of the water necessarily on their own, but you have to think about what it means for TOP. You know, they have those strong solo laners. They have a strong jungler. Their bot lane is so good at just sitting in the bot, doing whatever their team needs for them to succeed. They'll stay there. They won't get run over, but they won't necessarily do much running over of their own, which I think is a really big strength.
And I really want to hit on that point because you said they're not going to get run over. That's sort of what RW is playing towards because the bottom side is the weakness for TOP, coincidentally enough. So if you actually do manage to play through the bottom lane for Rogue Warriors, and if you manage to destroy them there, which is obviously one of their weaknesses, then you can pull out with a very heavy lead. And like we said before, RW with the lead, they know how to deal with it. It's just they haven't really got it recently, so that is their place to watch.
Yeah, and it's always going to be about the mid lane matchup. Anytime you have Knight, you know, Clement, as people were seeing through the break, did the face-to-face segment with him, our most recent interview, and he's probably one of my favorite candidates for this interview because someone who has so much success at such a young age and is just at the top of every stat. We saw them top in KDA, top in kills, you know, basically every stat where you're like, huh, I wish my solo queue mid laner were X. Well, Knight's got them all.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, his stats are definitely not lying when it comes to pushing his story as a player in the LPL. He's done such good work in his very first split. And the fact that with TOP, he is finding success because XX plays around him, this is a kid who has a very long and tested career in front of him. I mean, if you take a look at how much success he can get when he has these resources, then other teams looking ahead to this player will say, maybe we should try and deny him, maybe we should take it away from him. And it's always that point in the back of your head where you say, well, is XX nearby? Can he counter game? Can he actually foil any of our plans to get Knight behind?
Well, we've talked a little bit, you know, both before and now about Knight being a young player. You know, he's 18. He had a few splits before under his belt, but this is his first time on TOP. But he's not the only one in this matchup that's a fairly rookie player. I mean, 369 in the top lane is absolutely super rookie, brand new here onto TOP, onto the LPL. And you look at Rogue Warriors, this has been their storyline all split. They have one veteran in Killua, who's also no longer even on the roster at the moment. Huanggai coming into sub for him. So Rogue Warriors, all inexperienced players against, I mean, there's just two barely rookies on TOP.
Yeah, but I'm not even mad about that because you talked about the bottom lane substitution. Yeah, Kalua's got the experience, but Huanggai had a massive MVP performance in their very last series. You have to remember, he actually picked it up. His alley play, his Morgana play. If you really want to have some success in the bottom lane, you better put this guy in on your front bench, and you got to make sure that he actually gets those engaged champions to pick out the enemies with.
I'm looking forward to seeing how the draft develops because you have two very different styles among these teams. Of course, for Rogue Warriors, you want to play around the bot lane like you were mentioning. Huanggai, amazing performance getting the MVP, and ZWuji, I mean, Baron Steel, first pentakill of the LPL this split. Do you really need to say more? You had to say a little bit about TOP.
Yeah, of course. In the top lane, it's 369. In the jungle, it is XX. Knight in mid lane, LokeN as ADC and Ben as support.
But Rogue Warriors, the young upstarts, ZhaoYun in the top lane, Xuzhu in the jungle, HuaTian mid lane, and ZWuji and Huanggai rounding it out in the bottom lane.
And personally, I am keeping my eyes on that support. He had such a massive performance. The fact that he can get into pretty much every single team fight from any angle that you want, even on a melee champion like Kalista, that is praise enough to sing. But the fact that he is coming in once again, obviously his team's going to have a lot of trust in him, and with a stellar performance like he just had with RNG, why wouldn't you?
At this point, it's about historical results this split versus recency results, because TOP, you look at both of those and they're like, hey, TOP's pretty good, man. TOP's,
you can't lie.
Hey, the team that has Knight on it, #1 in all the stats, seems to be doing pretty well. Weird that. But you look at Rogue Warriors, they had sort of a rough beginning to the split. They didn't have an identity nailed down for their team yet, and they were still working it out. But now, you look at their last series, they looked so coordinated, so confident, being able to bring out the picks like the Echo, the Vayne. These are things you don't really pick because you think necessarily they're the best in most cases. But for Rogue Warriors, this was, we need to give it our all. We need to put in as much work as possible. We need to be on something we're comfortable on, and we think we can beat RNG on. And they got a 2-0 out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard when it comes to the pick and bans. It's really not standard when it comes to the execution. So we just need to watch for RW. Maybe it's not really the pick and bans that are going to surprise us. They're not really one of the teams who have adapted very fast to 9.4. But we have to watch for gameplay because they've been revitalized ever since they renewed the squad.
Now, getting into pick ban, we've already got a pick coming out there. TOP picking up the Lissandra for Knight. But let's look at the bans real quick, because I recognize all three of those champions there from TOP. That's just Rogue Warriors' comfort picks.
Yeah, and they took them all off. The only other one that's unique to Rogue Warriors was Thresh, but since Kalua's off the table, you don't even need to worry about that ban anymore. So far, we need to watch for how these teams adapt, because I'm liking what I'm seeing, Nibiria. That is, of course, a Neeko, and with on-hit still very viable in 9.4, I expect to see that do a lot of damage by the 2-item power spike.
I mean, additionally, it's going to be a flex pick coming out here because we know we've seen it in the mid lane. I believe it was Maple who brought that out last, but of course the bottom lane where on-hit things tend to make a little bit more sense. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. Now Rogue Warriors finishing off that side of the draft with the Olaf.
Yeah, and I would just expect it to go into the mid lane just to touch on that point, because HuaTian is known as one of those players who can do consistent DPS as opposed to burst. I was a little bit surprised that Rogue Warriors prioritized the Olaf as opposed to the Rek'Sai. We know that in the LPL, these teams are very slow to adapt, especially when it comes to these very priority picks that we see internationally, but they seem to have a plan in mind, especially run at the enemy and lock him down.
But TOP, now they've gotten a few power picks on the patch. You know, Lissandra's been powerful at least since 9.2, and now Rek'Sai is so good with the Conqueror, and Kalista on top of that. Hail of Blades, lots of burst there.
And also, we need to talk about the fact that now there is a huge buff to Infinity Edge. We've even seen some Kalistas build it, not necessarily for the Ren, but just for the autos itself. It is a possibility for LokeN coming in, but one thing that I definitely fear for Rogue Warriors right now is the fact that if that Neeko doesn't go to the ADC position, then a lot can be banned off against Rogue Warriors, and that might definitely constrain their playing conditions.
I like the Braum being picked up away from the Kalista specifically because, you know, that combo with the quick stun, so scary. But now there's going to be the Thresh ban out into the Kalista, I guess because of the synergy there?
There's a huge amount of synergy. Both of them can help each other escape, so obviously taken off the board. It's also a nice little counter to Braum because you know that you can guarantee to hit him. So now we have to take a look to TOP and say, how exactly do they want to round out their composition? They can still pick a top laner and a support. Usually we see the supports in this meta do all of the engaging, but now, because a whole lot of the engaged supports are banned off, we might even see 369 be put in that position.
Yeah, Thresh, Alistar off the table, Braum taken away. He's getting a little bit clamped down, but we've seen Ben has a pretty deep champion pool, 7 champions picked so far in the split, so he's got options at the very least. But Rogue Warriors now hovering onto the Jax.
It doesn't really matter what they really pick in the top lane because they're pretty certain that 369 has to default onto a tank. I'm even expecting something like either a Poppy or a Scion go towards that lane because naturally they already have a lot of damage coming out from their other sources. I'm just curious to see how 369 rounds out their comp because everything else so far just screams a whole lot of go in and damage.
And this Galio pickup would do a little bit to help that out. The Hero's Entrance, so much AoE disruption and good for those team fights, especially with the Fates call coming out from Kalista. So we're looking at this last pick here. What are they going to do in the top lane? Maybe Gangplank.
Okay. I mean, that's very bold. I'll say that right now. It means that they have to rely on Ben to be their front line, and pretty much Galio's support never gets to a frontline stage where he can tank everything up, so I would be a little bit worried. It means that TOP are very confident in their early game, and they're more or less certain that they can completely roll over Rogue Warriors before they even get into team fights. It's bold, but we know that they can make it work because they've got such great stats in their mid and top lane.
Whoa! Okay. That
Woo.
up 0% across the board, ladies and gentlemen, because we have not seen Twisted Fate this year in the LPL, and I literally cannot remember the last time I've seen one picked up ever.
Yeah, I'll have to still remember his kit. Don't worry about that. But we need to actually ask the question, what is this TF going to do and what is he going to take? My initial thoughts into a Lissandra is that he might take the Kleptomancy because there isn't a whole lot of kill pressure onto her, get enough gold, and then build a whole lot of movement speed to use his permanent gold card status onto the bottom lane or maybe even top.
Well, and that would combo well with his passive, you know, because gets a little bit of extra gold every time he CS's. I'm basically just running down his kit at this point because I hope that the viewers like me have sort of forgotten the last time we've seen it. This is so exciting. Last time we saw Rogue Warriors pull out a pick that we hadn't seen in a while, it was the Echo, and HuaTian absolutely destroyed on it, dodging out a 2v1 gank with the ultimate, getting the stun through it. So when he pulls out these picks, it's key to pay attention.
Yeah, and I think that that's what they're trying to go for. They're going to say, look, if we could just pick these random picks that the enemy don't necessarily know how to play against because we have defined power spikes, like, for instance, the fact that you can gank bot at level 6, like, for instance, the fact that you can just stun everybody up infinitely in the middle of a team fight, then you can find your success that way. But it does rely on a whole lot of very carefully played mechanics because there's a reason why these champions aren't in the meta, and it's because a whole lot of their counter picks, like, for instance, Lissandra, do exist.
Yeah, and TF, I mean, this is a really old school comp, excepting the Neeko, you know, Braum, Olaf, Jax, TF. I remember I've been playing with these champions for years, so Rogue Warriors, just keep up the surprises, and this is going to be their hope. This is how they want to take down TOP. If you can't beat them the standard style, find your own and beat them that way. That's what Griffin have been doing in the LCK, and I want to see if Rogue Warriors are going to be able to do the same against TOP.
And you also mentioned that they desperately need this victory. It's one of the hardest ones in their schedule, so anything goes when it comes to needing to pick up the points.
See if Rogue Warriors are able to take down TOP and continue their potential Cinderella playoffs run, or if TOP are going to knock them down as we get into Game 1, TOP versus Rogue Warriors.
All right, well, the former manager of JD finally switching over to Rogue Warriors. The crowd might not be as strong as the TOP squad, but we certainly know that the cheerleader is.
Every single time I hear Rogue Warriors anywhere involved in a series, I get ready to turn down my headset volume because I'm like, oh no, he's going to start screaming again. He has such a pack of lungs on him. And it brings in the hype a lot for Rogue Warriors. They haven't built up a lot of a fan base yet. You heard TOP, like you said, so popular. And that's what you get for dominating the league. But Rogue Warriors, scrappy underdogs, sort of a dark horse, they're going to start building up a fan base of their own. And this series is going to be key to that as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you pick out a whole lot of random mid laners, that definitely catches people's eyes. But another point is that you have to do it very, very carefully. We just need to keep our eyes on the minimap right now because already very deep wards going into the blue side already gives Rogue Warriors a very big heads up on the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and it's really weird because we haven't seen a path quite this unique in any game that doesn't involve a player named SOFM. XX started on the Wolves and is heading straight to the red, it looks like.
Yeah, he's already forgoing his blue because he wants to make sure that by the time that he reaches it, it's already a reasonable time to give it over to Knight. But it's going to be very dodgy because he's going to be missing out on the experience, which is going to put him behind on levels. He also doesn't get the Scuttle Crab in the top side of the map, so that's also going to be a huge punishing factor in terms of the gold against Xuzhu. And he needs to start coming onto the map extremely early, possibly before his first back, if he wants to even that out.
Look at the runes there. It's not going to be the Klepto, but instead the Arcane Comet coming out, which is... I really don't know how to comment on a TF anymore.
It makes sense because, of course, when you get the gold card, you get a free comet right down onto the enemy. But for laning phase, it barely does anything. And here's XX.
XX coming in for a very early gank. ZWuji going to be safe, but Huanggai not as lucky. First blood going down for LokeN.
Ooh, that was spicy. XX, we did predict it. He misses out on a little bit of experience, so naturally he needs to go down into the bottom side in order to pick that up in the form of a kill. It's already traded off by Xuzhu because you can see him stealing that blue buff away. And of course, that is the downside of not picking it up. But I think even if he does get 3 buff by the enemy jungler, it's still worth it in terms of the first blood gold.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at what your pathing gets you. And in this case, it's going to be the first blood in favor of TOP.
Yeah, not a lot of junglers tend to go for the level 2 gank on the Rek'Sai. So he pops in. Huanggai doesn't have the dash back and just gets caught out with the knock-up as well.
I like that he didn't blow his flash either. You look at ZWuji, he also has cleanse worth pointing out. So Huanggai just knows he's dead at that point. Even if you flash heal away, that's so much burn and you might not even get out. So he's not going to waste those summoners. But looking at the top lane, we haven't really talked about this matchup yet, but both of these champions are known as fairly late game scaling champions. Both of them go for the Trinity Force fairly early on. How does this matchup develop as the game goes on?
Well, it's always going to heavily favor the Gangplank because both of them scale up. However, the Gangplank will always have the range in the parlay. So ZhaoYun's going to be poked all the way until he starts building his 3rd item. I would assume that parlay is just going to be way too abusive inside of this lane. 369. It doesn't just mean that he's going to get the lane advantage with the CS. It also means that eventually that's going to add up in terms of experience.
Yeah, you can already see that ZhaoYun has been forced to back once already. Teleport coming in right next to that barrel there. ZhaoYun trying to get a little bit of pressure back in the lane. Xuzhu is up here, so might be able to help a little bit.
There is still a flash available for 369, but he will eventually see Xuzhu. Should be backing out of bounds.
Yeah, Xuzhu just going to back there. It'll give ZhaoYun a little bit of freedom to farm in the top lane, knowing that there's no way 369 can try and engage on that. And now CS gets evened up in the top lane as well. So not entirely a worthless gank.
Yeah, but we need to talk about the fact that he pushed ZhaoYun back to his own base. Before there was a very good power spike available, a Ruby Crystal and a dagger for a Jax on his first back. That feels bad, man, and it means that he's not going to be scaling until maybe his second back.
Oh, HuaTian getting ganked here. Has to flash away, and you know, this is one of the weaknesses of the TF. You have no mobility whatsoever.
Yeah, no mobility, but you're just waiting until the level 6. I think that burning your flash at level 5 is good enough because you can still get to level 6 relatively safe, but you need to start using it quickly because if you don't and you wait for your lane for something to happen, then that might take way too long and you might just get abused again with no flash.
These bot lane trades are going a lot in the direction of TOP, but it looks like ZWuji and Huanggai are doing okay holding on, you know. They're rookies here, so against LokeN and Ben, who are the most experienced members on TOP, it's going to be a hard lane regardless, but I think they're doing well holding their own. You know, ZWuji has never come out of lane massively ahead. He'll come out with a tiny lead, but like LokeN and Ben, he just tries to stick into the lane and survive.
Yeah, and he just wants to make sure that the rest of his team can provide enough of either a front line or enough CC to get him into a very favorable position in the late game. Look, when we talk about the composition of RW, it's pretty much just run at them, stun them, make sure that they can't necessarily play the game of League of Legends because they're permanently CC'd, and then give them a grey screen to go along with that as well. But that relies on very careful execution, and I'm not too certain that they can pull that off.
So the last time Twisted Fate was played, you're seeing it on your screen right there, is August 26, 2018 from Suning's Angel. So that's a while.
Yeah,
it's been more than a year.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know if this is the best time in the meta to pull him back, but certainly HuaTian thinks that it's a good matchup and also rounds out the team comp.
Oh, well, there's the level 6, but no mana, no flash available. That was what they were playing for. They were waiting for the TF level 6, but it doesn't look like it really worked out.
No, and the Respect Flash coming out from 369 just gets him out to safety and also wastes the ultimate from TF. So A little bit of an underwhelming play from the side of Rogue Warriors, but naturally to be expected because Gangplank still had his summon.
Well, they also saw that TF did not have the blue buff, which means they're going to go aggressive onto that. But 369 and ZhaoYun scrapping it out here in the top lane. Barrels down. ZhaoYun real low, but should get out of this one alive.
Yeah, and Grasp of the Undying as well means that 369 is going to be topped up, even if ZhaoYun decides to stay. Very punishing because now Gangplank can start pushing it back and start looking towards those turret plating goals.
Yeah, now that ZWuji is stuck here under the tower, he's not level 6 yet, neither is either bot lane, but that level 6 power spike was supposed to be an opportunity for Rogue Warriors to roam around the map, get something happening through the TF, and it hasn't happened. He's down 10 CS in his lane, his bot lane's down 20, his top lane's down 10 as well. I mean, yeah, Xuzhu's farming fine, but that doesn't really matter when all of your solo lanes are doing so poorly.
No, and it also is a huge punishing factor because the ultimate takes way too long to recharge coming out from the TF. HuaTian isn't going to be able to go back onto the map until much, much later, and by that time, there'll be another dragon. There might be even a Rift Herald to contest. So, I think that if HuaTian doesn't get anything in terms of gold out of his ultimate, he should still use it for the fact that you can get vision and to make sure that you can stop TOP from sneaking these objectives like that dragon we saw.
Well, and they need to keep at it because you're exactly right. They did pick up a dragon, and now they have a 2k gold lead. And TOP, they can just run away with this. We've seen how effective they are with any amount of gold lead. They didn't get to 9-2, first place in the standings by accident. They're a very active, very strong team. So you have to be very careful when playing against them, and it looks like TOP are the ones playing RW like a fiddle.
Yeah, and big question was, can TOP get that early game advantage? Look, throw that out the window because very clearly they have. Now we need to see whether they can stop RW from coming back into the game. A huge way to do that is simply to control the players and make sure that they don't move away from their lanes. That gives XX a whole lot of freedom to make his play around the map. But other than that, we just need to see TOP play defensive because it's their game to lose once they get the lead.
And it looks like they're sort of playing around that idea. There's a lot of presence from XX in the top lane. ZhaoYun maybe not wanting to go in here. The blue buff is being taken by TOP, so they can respond. ZhaoYun is so low. Double barrel lands. Has to flash into the bush. I don't know what he was thinking. Leap strike not going to be enough to save you there. And 369 just solo kills ZhaoYun.
Goes a little bit too aggro. He thinks that he can trade with 369. Not necessarily working out. And I counted 2 Grasp of the Undying procs onto ZhaoYun. That was enough to keep him alive and also take down his enemy top laner. We've already seen ZhaoYun get punished with a very bad first back. He's getting punished even more with that solo kill.
It's bizarre because it feels like Rogue Warriors just picked 3 losing lanes at this point and not a whole lot to take care of that. ZhaoYun doing so poorly into that matchup because of the range discrepancy thanks to Gangplank's Q. It's a 30 CS difference. Mid lane not going much better. Bot lane getting absolutely decimated as well.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest bridging tool for Rogue Warriors was their mid laner, but the fact that HuaTian didn't managed to get a kill on the top side, yeah, that's definitely the thing that's setting them back. Now that his ultimate is up again, I need to keep eyes onto him. First of all, to push out his wave, and the second of all, to see where he chooses to take that.
Not only is his ultimate up, but ultimates across the map have been activated. Everyone's post level 6 by this point. So there's the opportunity if a big team fight arose, everyone's got all their stuff, if nothing else.
And when we talk about the level 6 power spikes from both of these two teams, you clearly have to say that Rogue Warriors have much more versatility in terms of where exactly they want to fight and on what terms they want to fight. So TOP, very stock standard. Obviously, you're just going to do a mucky brawl, but Rogue Warriors, they have the advantage in terms of getting to a place faster.
And now TOP, the next place they might want to keep Rogue Warriors away from will be that dragon. Just 15 seconds remaining until the Mountain Drake spawns. And Scuttlecrap's on that side of the map as well. So XX might be looking to pick that one up first.
Naturally, he should be focusing towards that side. I mean, Dragon coming up again. TOP had full control over it the first time, and there's no reason why they should be letting it go of it the second time. HuaTian's ultimate is up, but even though he could use it to scout out, reasonably he already knows that this dragon is being taken, so he's just going to use it to give his team some knowledge and safety to go onto the top side and return a cut. Getting
back to lane in lieu of the TP, but it's such a big cooldown. It looks like Rogue Warriors are just kind of ceding over this early game to TOP, and it's going to result in them being down 2 dragons and additionally a 3k gold lead.
Yeah, and we were also talking about the fact that he can use that to TP back to his lane. Sure, he used it to TP back to lane, but it didn't even give him an advantage. It's level 9 TF versus a level 10 Lissandra. That feels bad, man, because he hasn't had an impact and he also couldn't get a lane with it.
Xuzhu trying to go for the Rift Herald here, but he's going to be spotted out. TOP know a little bit better than that. And they're going to see it leash now. XX might look up to pick it up on his own.
Yeah, this is just complete map dominance coming out from TOP. They're playing very well right now, Nibiria, and it's pretty much due to the fact that they can neutralize all of their lanes to make sure that their laners have the superior push and also have the lane priority if ever there was something to happen in the jungle. It's not necessarily XX going towards his lanes, but the other way around, to provide him with a lot of support. And hanging around the Rift Herald might be very good for that team because they're picking up all of the neutral objectives.
Well, we've seen TOP do something similar before, and that sound means Rift Herald's down. XX got to solo it and has the Eye of the Herald as well. We've seen TOP do something similar against OMG, where they took like 2 back-to-back 26-minute victories. And they're going in for the engage. The cleanse still available for HuaTian. Forces the flash. Still hasn't used the cleanse, bizarrely enough. Xuzhu coming in for the mid lane, but it's a 3 versus 3 now. Rift Herald looks like it's about to go down. Rogue Warriors maybe looking for the engage. Gonna back off.
Everybody on Rogue Warriors collapsed, but on the side of TOP, because they knew they had the priority with the Herald, they just left 369 to his own devices. Still had the TP to join, but he gets even more gold out of this, and the team just wins all around because they even get the experience. I think this is just Rogue Warriors trying to play a little bit defensive to make sure that they can get into the team fights, and it's not working out for them so far because TOP is getting such a huge advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost 14 minutes in, which means the turret platings are going to fall down in a little bit, but more importantly, look at that gold lead already, 3.4k at the very least. This is just all from CS and turret plating. They really haven't needed to take the kills. They haven't needed to take the towers. They've just been laning better.
And isn't that just an amazing game for XX? Because it means that he can just farm away at Rek'Sai. It's almost as if he had the old ultimate, because all he's doing is making sure that he can be everywhere on the map. And as soon as his camps come up, he can just start donating them over to his team members. And other than that, just get the level advantages over Xuzhu.
So far, that's been happening across the map, you know. Level 11 for Knight as well over HuaTian. So there's just a huge amount of dominance coming in from TOP. Do Rogue Warriors still have the opportunity to scale up into the late, or do they need to start forcing?
They certainly have the champions to do so, but the way that this game is going is very difficult for them, Nibiria. I mean, if you take a look at the gold lead, it's already more than 3k by the 15-minute mark. That is very, very impressive. And the fact that these lanes haven't even taken down their turrets, that just means that it's going to be even more brutal. Because when turrets are up, you could just get bullied completely out from these minion waves.
Yeah, only one turret has been taken, and that was in the top lane, which entirely unsurprising. I mean, look at that CS lead. Still like 30 or 40 almost. That's absolutely disgusting. So now TOP have the opportunity. I mean, this feels like it's being mean to Rogue Warriors a little bit here. But TOP have the potential for a perfect game still.
Yeah, and it's early days, but when we talk about a team that could do so well with the lead, and also a team that don't really mess about when they play for points, especially so close to playoffs, then that is very definitely reality.
Oh, here comes the gank onto the bottom lane. ZWuji stuck on his own. Pop Blossom only catches Ben, but now Fate's Call going to come get 2 kills there in the bottom lane for TOP. And that was just an absolute slaughter. Nothing Rogue Warriors can do to stop it.
XX goes down into the bottom lane and starts engaging before the bottom lane of RW can move backwards. That's going to be more than their lives. It's going to be a turret. And now with that taken down, there's going to be a whole lot of leeway on the bottom side as Dragon is about to spawn.
This is textbook macro here for TOP. They've got the top tower, they got the bottom tower. Mid tower is the only thing left up. Dragon, like you said, in 45 seconds, so they can go for that too. So far, there's nothing in their way.
Yeah, and we just need to talk about this gank again because there's no vision, and also Xuzhu is just a little bit late to the party. Now he has to run away because it would have been a 3v3 normally, but now with the 2v3, XX's knock-up along with Ben's taunt was just too much to deal with.
I was really happy about this Twisted Fate in the earlier stages of the game because I thought it was an opportunity for HuaTian and Rogue Warriors to play very uniquely, and yeah, that's true. It was, but the problem was TOP stopped them at the first hurdle, and ever since, they haven't really been able to get the momentum back. HuaTian's ultimate is back up, however, so they might be able to go for a cross-map play again.
However, XX is stalking him out, and I think that he can actually get him because there is no flash. He chooses to respect it for now, but that was very dangerous for HuaTian. Even that far out, he can't necessarily be split pushing for his team.
He's gone for the Rod of Ages as well, which means he's not going to have a whole lot of stats in the early portion of the game, so I think everything's just going against Rogue Warriors as TOP pick up possibly their 3rd dragon in a row.
Yeah, and you saw in his inventory that he went for an 8th of Wisp, but then he changed it to a blasting wand. Usually TFs go for the movement speed because all they need to do is chase up and make sure that they can do continuous gold cards. But the fact that he needs to go with more AP because he knows that he needs raw damage for these team fights, yeah, he knows that his position on the team is already not one of facilitating, but of carrying.
And now with that extra space added by the backing of Rogue Warriors members and the movement, they've picked up the entire side of the 1st tier tower for Rogue Warriors.
It's already pushing their way into the jungle because now nothing is sacred for the side of Rogue Warriors. TOP can simply walk in here and start contesting. It was a nice smite, by the way, from Xuzhu. He manages to take it for his own team, but stealing away a blue on your side of the map, yeah, you don't want to be in that sort of situation.
No, and it feels like it's just getting worse because at the beginning of the game, we set up the idea that TOP, just if they win early, they're doing great. Well, they've won early. They're starting to win mid. I don't know how late it's going to start looking. 7K gold lead, 3 towers up. Barons on the map in just a minute 30.
When we take stock of how the builds are going for both of these two teams, it's nearly a Yumu's Ghostblade completed for 369 as opposed to simply the Trinity Force for Jax. Amazing build, no doubt, you know, and it's also a very good power spike for ZhaoYun, but the fact that he's so far behind means that he can't 1v1. He can't be in this split push scenario, and 369 already getting the superior lead this early into the game. You don't want to be giving that over to a Gangplank because he can affect the rest of the map. That is his strength, and in his own lane he's winning.
Well, we say ZhaoYun now he can't 1v1, but he's at this point never been able to 1v1. We were waiting for him to get to the 3rd item before he was poked out entirely. He's barely past the 1st, and he's down by at least 2,200 gold. 369 is just chasing ZhaoYun away from the wave at this point. And that's a lot of damage just from the Q.
That was one parlay. Yeah, that was ridiculous. I mean, if ZhaoYun wants to neutralize this lane and even come back into the game, I think that Xuzhu needs to make his appearance on this part of the map because the one advantage that Olaf has is that he doesn't care whether a barrel slows you down. He doesn't really care too much about how much damage he takes, provided that obviously he doesn't die. So if 369 can take him down, then it's just more attack speed for taking down a very squishy Gangplank.
Well, squishy, but a ton of damage you can dish out over an AoE. So if he does go for this gank, he needs to be very careful, but it looks like XX is thinking about this and just sending as much support as he can down towards the split pushing Gangplank.
Yeah, they know the win conditions of RW and they completely neutralize it. Moving their members where they need to means that TOP can get these structures safely. You were talking earlier about potentially a perfect game coming out from TOP, and they're looking to make that statement. They've already got other teams within the league getting some perfect games, so naturally they want to pick one up for themselves.
Yeah, you look at the state of their members. 50 CS up for that Gangplank, 30 in the mid lane. Okay, just 10 or 20 in the 80 carry position, but the fact that I put, yeah, just 20. You know, that's only like 600 gold, Preacher. What can they do with that? Well, you look at the items and you find out. You know, it's 2 items to 1 on the 80 carry position. 2 to 2, to be fair, in the mid lane, but everywhere else, it's just a massive gold differential.
Yeah, and ZWuji, right now, he just needs as much attack speed as he can possibly get. On hit, Neeko, already with the Blade of the Ruined King, just needs more and more abilities to hit the enemies with. So if we have to take a look at how this build is going, it's not the worst thing in the world that he's only sitting on a recurve foe, but the thing that we need to criticize is his positioning, because so far in team fights, or rather lack thereof, Rogue Warriors have not looked as a 5-man unit.
Well, that sort of points out another issue this game. Rogue Warriors haven't gotten to team fight. Every single time someone's died, it's been a pick. And this might be another one here onto ZhaoYun. No one else is going to rotate down from TOP, but the fact that the mid laner, who barely had a lead in the mid lane, is able to roam down and threaten your top laner so heavily, this is still really scary for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, and we need to talk about the fact that we were hyping up Rogue Warriors bottom lane as potentially the place to carry, and clearly TOP knew that as well, but in top lane.
There's the flash. Gold card going to stop 1, but those are 3 people in the top lane there, HuaTian. You're not going to live for much longer. 369 picking up his 2nd kill of the game.
Taking up stray kills where they possibly can. We were talking about how it was the best possible way for RW to win this series by playing through their bottom lane, but TOP knew that, punish it, and now because they're so far behind, it kind of looks as if RW can't take straight team fights.
If they can get a miracle kill onto someone, though, that's not terrible. You look at the gold bounties on the side of TOP, and they're pretty massive, you know, 800, 650, 650. But this Baron's a little bit more important than that.
Yeah, I mean, this is completely invisible to the side of Rogue Warriors, and naturally so, because they've been pushed completely off of all of their wards. Now we have to take a look at the interference to see how well that goes.
They see it now. Teleport coming in. Xuzhu already forced to blow ultimate. 2,000 left on the Baron. It doesn't look like Shuju's going to be there for the steal. He flashes in. He gets the Baron!
Oh my god!
Rogue Warriors might be able to win it with a second Baron steal in a row. These guys are absolute monsters. They're chasing down. Fate's Call will save Ben for now, and Rogue Warriors walk away with the Baron in hand.
They got the Baron, and they even won the team fight in Iberia. It's happening again. I don't believe it. Just like they did with RNG, they take the Baron. This time, it was because of Shuju's smite. My lord, I cannot wait to see what this team does with that advantage.
I'm still a little bit speechless because last time they had a much better position before the Baron steal, but you look at TOP, they were on track for a perfect game, and then in one fight, they lose all their momentum.
Yeah, we were talking about the interference right over here, but the ultimate very quickly popped from Xuzhu. He knows that his one job inside of this game is to steal the Baron. Watch him flash over the wall, whoop it with an axe as well. It wasn't even the smite, and then the rest of the team fight, because Ben tries to go way too aggressive into the middle of the enemy team, works out so well for Rogue Warriors.
Now Rogue Warriors have picked up 2 kills and the Baron. So the question is what they're going to be able to do with this opportunity, because they are still down a significant amount of gold, almost 6K, and the 4th Dragon is looking to go the way of TOP.
Yeah, the vision is still at a priority for TOP, so Rogue Warriors first of all need to start clearing that out, and then after that use their Baron to push up. They still got 2 minutes on it, so realistically they can spend 1 minute setting up and then the next minute pushing.
The nice thing about stealing away the Baron is the worst case scenario is you stall out your opponent for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So at the very least, Rogue Warriors have safety for that amount of time, but when it comes into the later stages of the game, should it get that far, 4 dragons on the side of TOP, and it comes to Elder, that's spooky.
Yeah, it's no joke, and there's also 3 Cloud Drakes as well, so, you know, when it's 1 Cloud Drake, you sort of make fun of it, but when it's 3, yeah, you really start going fast, and Rogue Warriors need to be careful about that, because they have no great way of disengaging beyond the Braum ultimates, so they need to be careful where and how far they are out in the side lanes, because if they're too far out, they can definitely get caught.
And especially with their current vision control issue, they've established a little bit more if you look along the river. They've put down some, but against 3 Cloud Drakes, if your problem for the entire game has been establishing sufficient vision, when you have a team that can move that quickly, perhaps more quickly than you think they can, those picks start getting all the more dangerous and your vision becomes so much more important. Now TOP just going to clear out the waves and try and keep the pressure on, because there's only a minute they have to wait out left of the Baron buff.
Yeah, it's just the 1 minute, and we gave a very clear priority for Rogue Warriors to get vision down so that they can safely push. That's a very ambitious ultimate coming out from HuaTian, and the fact that he doesn't use it, once again, RW blowing a very crucial tool.
I feel like at this point they just want to make sure they're not dying instantly. They're just like, okay, are we going to die if we stay here for a little bit? No, we're probably okay. Or maybe they just don't want ZhaoYun to die again, because he's looking like he's in a lot of trouble. Heroes Entrance, more people coming in here to the bot side, but ZhaoYun gets out safe.
Finally starting to scale to the point where he can use his leap strike to get out of situations. I quite like that if there were a member to try and get collapsed on, it should be ZhaoYun. But as opposed to just doing that without getting any other advantage on the rest of the map, RW should really be baiting that out, as if ZhaoYun is the tasty treat for TOP, and then once he gets out, Rogue Warriors uses the rest of the map as an advantage. I mean, you take a look at all of the turrets, every single one is still up for TOP, so that is naturally where Rogue Warriors need to get their eyes. It's latent gold, it's in a piggy bank, and they just need to crack it.
Well, that's the problem, is how they're going to do it, because they haven't really established the vision that we think is their key to success at this point. They've gotten a little bit better in the items department. HuaTian has picked up the Zhonya's, but you look at the top lane, ZhaoYun still building for damage at this point when I feel like he keeps getting picked out. They might need a little bit safer itemization.
Yeah, and they definitely need a front line as well. So Xuzhu isn't going to be the sole tank for the rest of his team, and neither is Huanggai. Huanggai was MVP because of his amazing performance within team fights. But Rogue Warriors and TOP, a lack of team fights has defined this game, and why exactly Rogue Warriors haven't been able to come out as ahead as we expected them to.
Well, a team fight might be breaking out in a little bit because a minute 30 left on the Baron. It's now fallen off of Rogue Warriors, so that's an opportunity coming up for a fight. But Ocean Drake is still going to be the next spawn, so it's important to point out that there's the potential for 5 dragons from TOP into the Elder Drake. It's really hard to beat.
Yeah, and it's also scary as well, because when Dragon and Baron both come up simultaneously, you need to make a decision which one you prioritize more. So far,
Okay.
nothing.
All right, they're fine.
Nothing much.
They're good.
But in the top lane, we have to take a look at the mid lane matchup once again. Because we were talking about the advantage that HuaTian could have got. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, ZhaoYun starting to get 1v1 here by 369. He has a little bit of damage. The Spear of Shojin is popped, and he's going to keep going. Steric's Gauge will keep 369 alive, but ZhaoYun knows he needs to stay in the fight if he wants the win, but he will force off 369 for the time being. But his presence in the bot lane means TOP can get the tower top. No TP still on ZhaoYun.
Yeah, as soon as ZhaoYun goes towards that fight, everybody on TOP knows that he cannot necessarily collapse. Take a look at the TP. There's still a very hefty timer on it. And look, you were criticizing ZhaoYun for potentially building the wrong way because obviously the Spirit Shojin is for somebody who is doing better in a game than 0-1 right now, but he managed to burn the flash on 369, so it's not the worst case scenario, and he's already proving that he can start to go toe-to-toe with this Gangplank.
If all you have to do is be in the 1v1 versus the Gangplank. Oh no,
Oh,
Xuzhu
no.
has to pop the Ragnarok. ZWuji's trying to help
Wait
out
a
his
sec.
jungler. They will survive. That's a route from ZWuji, and they force off TOP for now. But the Ragnarok is down, and Baron's up.
Yeah, the CC not landing down onto the Olaf because of the ultimate. Xuzhu manages to make his way out, and that Cinderhawk may well have saved his life. He is playing the defensive member of his team. He is playing the front line to make sure that everybody else can tank it up. And we can already see that ZWuji is starting to get to the point where his Prestige attack and the rest of his build is doing some deeps.
Yeah, he should be pretty close to that Runaan's Hurricane. That might be what he's backing for now as well. No, he's going to go for the PD instead, so a very defensive option. So he's got the 3 items. It's not nothing. Yes, LokeN's up by a BF sword, but you still have the damage coming out. You have a little bit of self-defense, and that's something he's lacked in these fights before. Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of the fact that both of these two ADCs have gone for defensive survivability as opposed to increasing their DPS in the Phantom Dancer. For both of these two ADCs, they are going to be very heavily focused because there are people who can reach them in the backline, so it's a very smart move.
LokeN doesn't feel like the problem in the team fights. It feels like he's more a problem in the objective fights, especially here. You look, he's going to solo the dragon, no problem because of that rend. He's going to pick this up now, the 5th dragon for TOP. Baron's still on the map, and TOP are headed up there to clear out the vision.
It's just going to be a Baron setup right now. Huge ward advantage going over the TOP. And the fact that 369 is very close to his turret and very close to this Baron as well could spell demise for Rogue Warriors. ZhaoYun has to be the one to aggress down onto TOP's side, and that could cause a very easy collapse. I don't know if Huanggai being here is actually enough support to help him out.
Doesn't look like he's going to be scared off pretty easy, but it's interesting to watch that the gold lead hasn't significantly shifted in either team's favor compared to before. Yes, it's still 7K at 30 minutes, and that is massive. But the fact that it's not 9K, 12K, something like that, means that Rogue Warriors are at least keeping pace with the tempo of the game.
Oh no, ZWuji is... I was about to say he nearly completed his back. That would have been devastating going into a Baron being up for TOP. We need to be ever vigilant of the members of Rogue Warriors because if any of them go back to base, if any of them are sleeping on the objective call, then that might be a very fast Baron. And we saw a steal with the first one to Beria, but the story could be very different for the second.
Looks like TOP just want to bait it out. Put the Farsight trinket there from Rogue Warriors, but they are completely blind otherwise. This is a really scary moment for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, and Huanggai has to be the person to check, but he doesn't have anybody to leap back to.
Oh no. ZhaoYun left a little bit too early. Good destiny there by HuaTian to scout it out, but now that's an ultimate that he will not have later on in the game.
Well, it's not too bad. It just means that he can't be pushing the bottom lane anymore. He has to prioritize the mid lane. But already TOP know that his ultimate is down. There's no way that they can scout this Baron out. So they're trying to bait it.
They are indecisive on what they want to do exactly with this Baron, but now ZWuji, maybe they'll take a fight here against TOP. Xuzhu has popped the Predator. He's so low already, and he's going to be forced out of the fight. Huanggai going for an engage there, but they still haven't even started a fight. TOP just burned the ultimate for free. That's the jungler out of the way for the Baron take.
Yeah, that was just very awkward to watch Nibiria. Xuzhu runs in with his ultimate, which means he has less armor and magic resist. Now it's going to be a free Baron take for TOP unless it's a fight from Rogue Warriors.
Redemption comes in. TOP 3,000 on the Baron. Can you get the miracle steal somehow? Not going to happen this time. Rogue Warriors might want to chase into the fight though. Huanggai in a lot of trouble, has to jump to the side. Now ZWuji solo trying to peel for himself. Not going to have a whole lot of luck there. And now as well, HuaTian in a lot of trouble. Gets the gold card onto the back line, but he's going to get picked out. Forced to flash over the wall. He is stalling for so long, but the Baron's still on him. Oh no! Oh! The Messiah in reverse, but HuaTian still gets taken down.
That would have been a very good play to put in the highlights reel, but unfortunately the time ticks out for the Zhonya's Hourglass. And TOP, they just got the advantage on the Baron by pushing out Xuzhu first, and once the jungler's out of the way, there's not a whole lot of opportunity for another steal.
So now TOP, they have Baron, they have all 5 members up, 34 seconds remaining on HuaTian's life. Doesn't look like he's going to be up in time as TOP look to take game number 1.
Yeah, TOP just played this slow and methodically. They didn't take anything they didn't need to, and already they're going to be bearing down on this Nexus before we know it.
They're fighting over the Nexus, but it doesn't look like there's going to be anything here for Rogue Warriors. They try to get the stun down onto LokeN, but LokeN is able to get through it, and he will take down. The double kill comes in for Knight, and the Nexus about to go down in favor of TOP as they're going to take game 1 versus Rogue Warriors, starting with the Ace.
Very smart play. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a hiccup that resulted in Rogue Warriors picking up both the Baron and 2 kills that prevented it from being a perfect game. And that was the comeback that realistically we saw. However, TOP still come back into this game. I think that the biggest highlight for it was the fact that they played so standard. We didn't really see anything come out of the unorthodox books, which means that they have a lot of strategies still hidden, and they just play standard all the way to victory.
Well, it also depends on, you have to look at what Rogue Warriors were up against, because TOP didn't give them the chance. TOP weren't taking risks. They were playing very, I'd say, LCK style in that they said, okay, we think that we have strictly better laners. We think we have strictly better macro. Let's just work with that and starve out Rogue Warriors. You look at that gold chart, that's exactly what you see.
Yeah, and you can also see the damage shots. I mean, 369, that's a massive bar. I just need to point that out. Even though he wasn't one of the biggest focal points on the map because he was simply 1v1ing, he still managed to do a whole lot in terms of pushing for his team. One of the things I needed to mention was that TOP know the advantages that Rogue Warriors had, and they completely disabled it. In the bottom lane, they knew that those are the 2 carries. Take it away from them. Completely shut them down in the early game, and also the TF. Make sure that his ultimate can't really make an impact, and in game number 1, I have to say, not a huge fan.
Well, because I think part of it as well is Rogue Warriors misplays, because we saw that level 6 attempted gank top lane, which I like the idea of, you know, you have 2 scaling laners, one of which isn't doing too great in the lane. Maybe you relieve some pressure. If you get that kill, suddenly there's a lot more tempo in your favor. But the first ult from HuaTian was just absolutely whiffed and didn't get anything out of it. And then he loses lane pressure, his top laner is still screwed, and then 369, you look at him for the rest of the game, all he has to do is farm. All he has to do is split push. He had so much gold in his pockets just from doing what any Gangplank does.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you draft for a late game with 1 bridging tool, and the bridging tool just doesn't really work out for you.
So hopefully Rogue Warriors can clean it up a little bit in game number 2, but for TOP, maybe they'll be hunting for the perfect game in the second game. We're going to have to find out when we get back in a few minutes.
是在做梦啊！亲了，就是跟你说我上血洗你。
只要我们不输，我不会输的。
哎，他针对我不想玩了。
怎么有点小紧张啊？
我也是，
我也有点，怎么回事啊？
我也有点小紧张。
深呼吸，深呼吸。
哦，这波出来的，这波出来的，就这波，就这波，看我可以吗？看我，看我，看我。
可以，可以，可以，可以，可以。
AD 没闪，AD 没闪，我先退，我先退，我先退。你们看，你们看，你们看。
辛德拉没大，辛德拉空大了，辛德拉空大了。
AD 没闪，AD 把 AD 空大了，把 AD 杀了赢了，把 AD 杀了赢了。
辛德拉空大了，没闪，没闪，辛德拉没闪，辛德拉没闪。
来，
辛德拉没闪，辛德拉没闪的，因为来来，一波，能一波，能一波，可以一波吗？可以一波吗？不能一波，不能。
nice，先走，这把放了，等水晶。OK， nice。
我们直接越塔，直接越塔，包赢了。
可以。我们往这边靠，看。 9手9手9手，来死了，AD 没闪，我3牛头，AD 死了，还有一个，杀了，来上，有
帮我盯他，来死，这都能翻，
来上，
赢了吗？
可以，哇，这都赢了，
是在做梦，行了，
来上，
打得好，兄弟们打得好，
我上来要么爆 C， 要么爆炸。
可以，我希望你是前者。那我要这样，要么10杀，要么10死。可以。
他们开了，
帮 AD，先帮 AD， OC。
OC 死了，
没事，上牛，牛死了，
正面，恶角头，一波，
赢了，
一波
，AD 看 AD 杀了他，
哎，一波，能杀吗？
不杀，
还有春哥，
一波 ，nice， 下一把，加油！
哎，踢，
我可以打，杀割裂，
可以接团，
我盖住吸血鬼了，吸血鬼没闪，
吸血鬼杀一下，
这边看我，辅助，再来一个，看 AD，
nice， 一波，nice，
打了一颗，是不是跟你说我上血 C 你那个？
我往后拖，他们真的可以，
随便赢，往后拖真的随便赢。
是的。
听我说，慢一点，过去，我还要抢机会，
我还有一个眼，
第一波牛3000。
哎，来看一下，我们在这儿，
你们冲，现在要冲，
你去打，不要进去，就这样，
啊，就这样，
音普你要，
音普，你去打上面的这个，
没事，可以打，
打住头，打住下，打，
没事，可以，是，没事，他们打不了大龙。
哇，不行，他们出来还要逼大龙的，真的。
不是我们逼大龙，我们开，只要我们不失误不会输的。
打了，慢一点，要慢点。
不用去。
猪头没有女妖。
要去，
打！我们
打，没治了，打，赢了，一波，nice，中了一波，一波了。可以，
一波，没杀，没杀，没杀，然后来
对不起兄弟们，今天我心态不稳。没事，我懂。
突然发现我能用的英雄真多啊，
好厉害哟！
不像某些人啊，只会玩一个卡莎。不要说不要像某些人，你直接可以点名道姓了，你这个太明显了。
哎，他针对我，教练，不想玩了，害怕。
哎，你说。
把我听到队友声音调小一点。
好的。
又不想听队友说话。
哦，
又不想听队友说话。
开始了。
不想听你的。
你们太能笑了，影响到了我。
没事，冲！
来吧，
加油！
打龙，好，拦住，
我看，
瞎子来不了。好，救一下我。
哎，看到了。
开了，冲！雷子没闪，能让我吗？开，雷子，下路可以一波，下路可以一波，中了，他没闪，中了吧，下路线快没了，一波中了，啊。来吧，一波，别秀了，中了一波，
来中了，快看，
有救赎吗？天直接加速，没有，来一波，来下一把，别激动，别激动，废了，我再来，10秒1 Q，先走，没闪，瞎子没闪，先走，我有果实，来，看手里，看手里，
哎，我有电没就选你。
直接看，车里没闪，我看这个，我追上面，去上面，瞎子要看瞎子，等一下，我还跟是闪现，我把他顶了，打，来，走，我死了，没事，来，慢慢来，不要着急，再集中，真的集中，瞎子在这边，瞎子在这边，
瞎子，知道我在。瞎子，慢点，瞎，我不会死，我不会死。瞎子死了，我扛 AD 了，他们吃了 ，AD 没闪。慢点，慢点。我死了，打鳄鱼。一波，来了，接了，去，一波，接了，一波，拆家，别杀人，真的别杀人，来，